Okay, so it's early in the morning. I haven't really had enough coffee yet. I think I had a cup and that was it. And a cup is not going to do anything, to be honest with you. I got to have several cups. See, I haven't even turned my light on yet. Sorry, folks, but I haven't turned my light on. This Ask HershNoeie is something I wanted to do because you see a few people who are practically butthurt. But it is what it is, right? So this Ask HershNoeie is, hi HershNoeie. Have seen videos where in the past you said that you don't discuss political issues and you try to steer clear of them. Recently, I've had a lot of different confrontations with my family members and even friends because of politics. Some of them have said that they're going to leave Facebook, and checking up later, they've actually left Facebook. I've lost friends that I've known since high school, and I've had a family member who chose someone who I didn't want them to choose, and I feel like the person they chose is someone who is completely against my life and my lifestyle. I am a part of the LGBT community, and it's hurtful that this person would support someone who is against me or who I feel is against me. Somebody outside screaming. It was a kid. And now that that person that they wanted has lost, it has been chaos on social media. Should I keep my distance like some other folks are saying, or what should I do? Okay, that's a great question. And you're right, I don't discuss politics because people lose what little sense they have when it comes to politics. This is a country that is very polarized. Okay, keep in mind, folks, this is a second video because the first one I did, I'm like, okay, I went off on a couple of tangents, and so I wanted to clean it up a little bit. Make sure you join our Discord, which is down in the description box below. Politics are like an opinion, basically. And an opinion is like a butt with a hole in it. We all have one. We all have a view, and that doesn't mean that it's right. Whether they're on one side or the other, that doesn't mean that their policies, their views, and everything else is right. But to them, they feel that their view is correct and right. You see what I'm saying? When someone is convinced that their view is correct or right, there's no way you're going to bend that. You see what I'm saying? Like, this is the reason why I choose who I am around very carefully. And some folks will say, look, I have people of different views and stuff on my social media and I don't cut them. That doesn't make you a man or a woman. Just because you have people on your social media that think differently than you, that doesn't mean nothing. There are a lot of people who went through college, and in college you're forced to deal with people and ideas and views that are maybe completely different from you, and you're in an environment that is completely different than what you have been exposed to. So there are people who I know, including myself, who steer clear of people who have extreme opposite views, and they espouse those views constantly. And I'm highly educated. The people I know are highly educated folks. So it's not like they don't understand or they can't deal with someone with an opposing view. It's when you're dealing with someone who produces toxic stuff. And it doesn't matter where they are. There's some people who may be good intentioned, but they go over the top with religion, they go over the top with politics, they go over the top with a lot of things. And I've also had to weed people out too, on both sides of the fence and in the middle. I've had to weed people out because there's some people who are still very extreme when it comes to Bernie and Trump and Biden and everything else. So I weed people out just because it's like, move on already. Last time I said those who didn't vote have no reason to complain at Trump because you didn't vote. There are people now, and it was good someone said this. This person was saying that They don't vote. They think it's silly, but they're sitting here ridiculing everyone, both sides, because they're ridiculing Trump supporters. See, I haven't had my coffee yet. And Biden supporters, but they didn't vote at all. And this person said, I don't want to even have a discussion with you. You didn't even vote. You didn't even vote. So it's like, it's stuff like that. So I found myself, people who I thought were cool and whatnot, I've actually cut out. Now, that doesn't mean I don't have people on there with opposing views. I do. Until you start pitching conspiracy theories. When you start pitching that, I'm done. To me, that's nonsense. And you have some people who are so butthurt that they think that by them leaving Facebook that that's going to make a big difference. It's not. Nobody cares. But it goes back to what I said before. I put myself in my own bubble because I've noticed people put themselves in their own bubble. There are some people who I know who only stick to one thing in their life, and that's it. They were born, raised, grew up in the same area, surround themselves by people that look like them, and that's it. And then they sit there and scratch their head when there are other people who look completely different than them, experience things differently than them, and they can't be able to empathize with them. And so then they're confused as to why those people are upset. I know plenty of people like that. I grew up in the Midwest. I guess you can count Kentucky in the Midwest. Grew up and spent my early adulthood in the Midwest. There's a lot of that. But when it comes to your family, it's a lot more difficult because these are people who are in your life. I am someone who is big on if you don't like me just because of who I am, me being born, it has nothing to do with my views. If I show up and I am who I am and you don't like me, then I have nothing to do with you. You see what I'm saying? Like, I cut people like that out. If you don't believe that people should be treated equally and fairly, then I have nothing to do with you. If you have already, and this goes for even black folks, if you have this preconceived notion about black men specifically and some sort of negative view, I cut you out. Like, it's not, for me, it's not a race thing. It's more or less, I don't let folks spend too much time occupying my mind. I have a lot going on up in here, and I have very limited space for BS. So I don't care who you are, where you are. As soon as there's something that's stupid, I cut you out. These are facts. Because I'd rather create my own bubble, if you will, out of self-preservation. Maybe these people who only want to be around people that look like them, it's easy. I'm going to admit that it's easy. When I grew up, I talk about the lunch table where the black kids would segregate themselves and the white kids would segregate themselves, and most of the school was white. That was out of self-preservation. Because for the black kids, we didn't have to explain anything. We didn't have to sit there and look like we had 6 eyes coming out of our head. We didn't have any of that. The white kids, it was more or less just easy. And growing up, that's what people do. It's easy. Most people of color have people of all different shades that represents America. And so there is this weird, especially this day and age, there's this weird juxtaposition. Because there are some people who can grow up in that bubble of where everything is, for generations, everything looks the same and all that. But then they completely go a different path. And they want to have diversity in their life. They want to have diverse friends. They want to see different things. They don't want to, follow just the same mindset. And I have people I know that are like that. You see what I'm saying? Do they have issues with their family? Yeah, because they've graduated to a different area. I'm not saying that one's right or one's wrong. I'm just saying people graduate. People move forward. Some folks don't. It's easier to not. It just is. It's easier to be, and this goes for Asians, blacks, whites, Hispanics. It's easier to be surrounded by people that look like you. That's easy. You can be someone that has two brain cells and still thrive in an environment where everybody looks like you. It's complicated as hell when you step outside of that comfort zone and you're around people who think a little bit differently than you, look differently than you, and all of that. That's much harder. And for some people, it's scary. So when you see folks wanting to abandon certain things, it's because they're afraid of reality. And I think that, you go on, and I didn't mention the other part of what your question was. I cut that middle section out because I felt like that was too personal. Sometimes I know that you may feel comfortable, but I didn't feel comfortable telling other people. But I think that right now there's some people that need some space and some time and some sort of degree of separation for a bit. Let things cool and simmer down a little bit and try to see if that relationship is salvageable. Because I've had to cut people out of my life. Most of them were with Noelle's family, and I still stand 1000% behind the decision that I did. Because if you can't respect me and treat me as a man, and you don't know nothing, I've only said 5, 6, maybe 10 words, then I have no time for that. You're not worth my time. There have been others in her family that have been, on one side of her family, completely awesome. Then on the other side of the family, there's been a few that have been, a couple, that have been amazing. And in fact, I've started a whole new relationship with her older sister, which has always been fairly decent. But it's been amazing. Been amazing. So sometimes it takes time, but I still stayed firm on my belief. I never wavered from my belief because I never did do something that was wrong or try to treat people dirty or I never have done any of that stuff. So I knew that I was standing on the right side of things. If you're standing on the right side of things, you have nothing to worry about. Hold on a second. So, if you're standing on the right side of things and you're just trying to live your truth, live your life, then I would hold that position. Period. There are going to be a lot of people, especially close to the holidays, where there's going to be some folks that are not sitting together because obviously the sickness. So that's weighing a lot on people. But there's going to be a lot of people just for political reasons that are not going to sit together at the table. I think it's sad. And one of the reasons why I strongly tell people to not necessarily, because people will say, well, it seems like your views are kind of more democratic or what have you. Not necessarily. I believe in treating people respectively, and I think that politics and people who are in office should reflect what society looks like. I think the same way when it comes to companies. Companies that don't do that, I have very little respect for. And when that is the case and you don't embrace diversity, like truly embrace diversity and not use terms like the blacks and stuff like that, then that's different. You can tell when someone has very little exposure when they use terms like the blacks. You know what I mean? Or Oriental. I think it's the worst term, one of the worst terms ever that you can use towards an Asian person. Now, some people who are in the Asian community may not care. But to me, I think that just shows a lack of couth. But that's, again, a side tangent. But to me, I think that, yeah, it's gonna be interesting the next little bit of time, especially around the holidays, because there are gonna be people who are butthurt, and they see things only with that's in their bubble, and if their bubble has not really changed over some time, and they haven't had enough exposure to different things, they're gonna be extremely uncomfortable. It's just not gonna work out the way that you're thinking. So it is difficult. It is difficult. But I think the best thing for you to do is to give things some time. Give it some time. And then see what happens. There may be people in your life, especially when it comes to friends. Now, there are people who I know that are friends of mine who think completely different than me, and that's fine. I may question certain things and be like, what? Like, huh? But it's their right to believe the way that they do. It may change certain things in my head, and what I thought the person stood for may change because I'm like, what? But that it is what it is, right? It is what it is. As long as they're not pushing some sort of, crazy thing off on me, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. But again, these aren't people that I'm living with, or, I'm in the same city necessarily with, or what have you. Like in your case, in your circumstance, it's completely different. It's a completely different thing. But I wouldn't force the issue. You've already, based on the part I didn't read, you've already did the things I would have done. And you're giving people time. Whether they come back and reach out to you, maybe not. Maybe not. But that's also their loss. Some people will say it's that person's loss if they can't. But sometimes that's true. Sometimes it's true. Sometimes it's out of self-preservation. Keep in mind, this country is getting more diverse. And every single day, it's getting more diverse than it was yesterday. Today is more diverse than it was yesterday. These are solid facts. And if you stand on that principle of I'm only going to be around people that look like me, you're going to quickly find out you're going to be running into a lot of things that are going to make you uncomfortable. Very, very quickly. It just is. There's no place you can run and hide or one particular part of the country you can go to, because the areas that you could run to are going to probably be leaning in a political view that you don't like. And then in other areas, it's going to be probably no jobs. So you're going to be in a situation where you have to confront certain things. You're going to be uncomfortable. That's life in 2020 and beyond. There are going to be some people who are uncomfortable. Other people, not so much. It's not uncomfortable because they've been exposed to that. So I think that as time goes on, the best thing to do is to keep your head up, think positive, and give people space. Don't push the issue. Continue doing what you're doing. Continue to love the way that you love. Keep people around you that support you and celebrate you, not tolerate you. I've learned that. Don't be around people that just tolerate you. Be around people that celebrate you, that truly respect you. They may have a different view on a lot of things. I have a lot of different views about things. And I don't expect everybody to agree with me. I'm not expecting my views to be right or whatever. But be around people who can celebrate you, who can celebrate the differences that you bring to the table, not just tolerate you just because. And I've had to make some pretty hard decisions over the last year or two or three of cutting people out I've known for a long time just because of the simple fact that they were tolerating me more than they celebrated me. So anyhow, I hope you enjoy this video. I hope I answered your questions. Make sure you join the Discord. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. And until next time, I will see you. Take care.